Alright, did a little more alpha testing for ProffieOS 3, and then also more uses for transitions. A while back I had actually a couple people ask about doing some animation to the stab effect. So those who've spoken with me, stab as an effect isn't one I liked personally, but it was a request, and with the transitions now this becomes possible, so I wanted to show it. So if you like stab, if you want to use stab, if you wanted to have an animation effect to it, you can. So this I put together. Now this, I have a sound effect from Jesse, so thanks to Jesse for that, for the stab sound, because I wanted to test that the stab sound worked for the OS 3, and it does. But for the timings, because I'm using a wipe in and a wipe as transitions, the effect is going to run longer than the sound. So you would tweak that, but I wanted to, again, kind of enhance or just kind of exaggerate the time so you can see what's happening. So this has a transition effect on stab that will do a wipe in of the basically the heating of the tip of the blade, and then it'll wipe back out at the completion of it. So the sound and the visual won't line up. That's on purpose because I'm only doing the tip of the blade. It's the wipe in, wipe out. If I did them at the same speed of the sound effect, you don't really see the animation because it's a small area. So this is meant to be an exaggeration. This is not the final product. This is more for testing. But for those of you who wanted more of a kind of a animated stab effect, this is one of the possibilities, and this is, there's so much more. So what'll happen in the main OS, stab is basically a thrust and clash. So it's a little different than what was on the fork, but you could also change that in your pros file if you really wanted to. So doing a thrust and clash motion, what you'll see is a wipe in of the effect on the tip of the blade only, and then it'll pull itself back out. So it's meant to be kind of like if you thrust the saber into like a wall or into armor. Obviously flesh shouldn't affect the blade if you're being canon, but so for our purposes we'll say we're thrusting the blade into, like stormtrooper armor or something. So here's the effect. So it wiped in and then it wipes back out. So again, I made those times longer. They don't match up to the sound, but that's on purpose. You would, if you really wanted the effect, you could actually time it out to the sound effect. But here it is again. So that's a wipe in and then a wipe out using the transition effects. So just more, stuff. If you had a longer sound clip, you could get more animation out of it. You could also change the depth you wanted the blade to go. So I only set this for the end of the blade. But now that animation effect is available, and with these transitions, it's pretty cool. So for those of you who like stab, who want to be able to do stab, and you wanted that kind of a change to the blade, with these transitions now, that's going to be possible. So more and more stuff coming out. Right now, all these styles, I've had a couple questions about the styles I've been showing, like the one yesterday with the emitter heat up and cool down. These I'm just putting together for testing. They're not finished. They're not complete blade styles. So I don't have the library yet. The plan will be to get, once Frederick releases OS 3 final, I'll have a library shortly thereafter, because there could still be changes to stuff. It's not really worth going into building all these big blade styles if stuff's going to change. So I'm going to hold off. And then I mentioned somewhere, maybe it was on Facebook, I'll also try to put together some explanations on, if you're using the fork for color change, how to transition those styles into the main OS, because there is differences. Obviously there's a lot of improvement that Frederick did with these transitions and a few other things. And a few of the styles we have in the fork aren't coming over and won't have like direct replacements in the main OS. So there'll be changes needed if you wanted to go from the color change fork to the main OS, but I'll try my best to make it so that we explain it and so it's not too difficult. And then again, eventually there will be a library, plus Frederick will have the style editor up. So, those of you who are worried about maybe how am I going to be able to go to OS 3, it's not going to be hard. There'll be a lot of information and stuff once it's available. This is all still in testing. If you haven't seen the alpha test thread, if you want to jump in there, do some testing yourself, read up, give some feedback, I recommend it. This still is getting tested out, and there's still a lot to come. So, thanks.